What's going on, everybody? Welcome into another episode of Profit Picks. If you are new, we do always start the show by being transparent. Did not do any shows over the weekend. We usually do not, but last week was not good for me. I went 3-7. Um, Worst week I've had in a while, but absolutely terrible. Have to do better this week here. And a lot of it, thinking about the last week and a half, I made some mistakes in the association, especially. And I'm thinking these last 10 games or so that we've been having, it's not so much what is the scheduling spot. It's not so much spots. It's just certain teams have stuff to play for. They're going to play hard. Other teams don't have anything to play for. You're probably not going to get a whole lot of effort from them. So just adjust. Last week coming up before playoffs, and absolutely exciting time for the NBA. Vino, how you doing today? Hopefully your last week was better than mine.
Well, yesterday certainly was. Yesterday had a 3-0 in the NBA. Capped off with the Golden State Houston game over the total. Got there late and then got there pretty easily after they cleared the number. Um, what else? Faded Memphis. Certain teams, Ski. I come on here every day and say the same thing. I'm just fading defenses at this point and playing team totals against. Yes, I had Milwaukee team total over against Memphis. Pretty easy. Memphis was down to, I think, 8 guys, 9 guys tops. Um, and then there was another late game that I had. It was the Clippers. Clippers team total over. They were off of 2 bad offensive performances in a row. Tried to smack my head against the brick wall for the third time. It came through. So we had a 3-0, worked out really, really well. And you're right about these teams with interest and disinterest. We're going to talk about some things here that are a little bit unique today, which have me a little leery of this schedule in its entirety. But we can get into it. Let's hopefully have a nice week here leading into the playoffs.
Yeah, shout out to the chat. Appreciate you guys tapping in. And I do see one person, Mark Valdez. Shout out to him. He says, "Appreciate you, Ski. Hella cool meeting you, bro. And thanks for the sweat-free lock." Says, "Can't wait to go back." Vino, I'm pretty sure you know where I met him at, and gave him a winner on UCLA women's basketball in the first half. So it was pretty easy. Great meeting you, bro. Um, you know where to find me next time you come. So always
It ain't
cool.
hard.
Yeah, not hard. Always cool to link up, bro. Glad you made it back safely. All right. Um, one, two, three, four, five games on the slate for tonight. Let's see if we can find some money. We will start at the top. Pistons and Magic opened up -2. We now see, same -2 out there. Total open 223 and it's down to 221 and a half. For the Pistons, we have Tobias doubtful, Levert questionable, Cade and Duncan Robinson and Stewart doubtful. So a lot of doubtful from this Piston side. For the Magic, they'll be without Anthony Black, Chet Howard, Jonathan Isaac, and Franz Wagner. This Magic team, this is one of those situations I just talked about here, Rob. Now, you have the Magic playing on a back to back, right? They just beat the Pelicans. You have them playing their third and fourth and sixth, keep sixth and ninth. They've been playing almost every day. So in general, this is absolutely not a great spot for the Magic. But spots, like we just talked about, it's not mattering as much right now. When I look at this game a little bit more, the Pistons, they've already clinched. They have the number one seed in the East, right? And they're coming off of a 20-point win in their last game. I don't think they really care. How much effort are you going to get from them in this game? Magic, meanwhile, they're in the play-in. I want to say they're ninth. I'm going to pull it up just to, I like to verify. Pretty sure they're ninth. Yeah, the Magic are ninth. They're one game behind the 10th seed. They're one game from getting out of the play-in. You're going to get max effort from them. This is a chance to not have to deal with any of that play-in madness. So I would be betting with the home team with the motivation still. It's Magic or pass for me, Vino. What do you think?
Yeah, I totally agree. Not much to add there, Ski. Detroit with first place overall, the number one seed clinched. Little to worry about here. And we could see about 30 minutes ago when the injury list started rolling through doubtful, questionable. They're just knocking players off the list of guys with potential minutes tonight. So what you wind up with is a short bench, not a heck of a lot of scoring options for the Pistons. Really don't understand why they still sit at -2, other than money thinks that Franz Wagner counts for more than the Pistons resting everybody and the Magic being on a bad scheduling spot. I don't agree with any of that. I think that Orlando here, like you said, they're one game behind Philadelphia, sliding into that sixth spot. You got 3 left to play or 4 left to play, so they certainly can make up some ground. It would be Orlando or nothing for me. The total's kind of difficult in this one simply because of how much Orlando has played and how little in offensive weaponry Detroit has tonight. I guess maybe the money pushing toward under could be correct. I'm not willing to bet it, but I would be willing to get in there with Orlando tonight, thinking that they need this one. It was a tough game yesterday, but I think there was only one player for Orlando. Paolo played over 33 minutes. So should be and that back to back with travel, but still think Orlando with much more reason to get out there and play tough than the Pistons.
And yeah, more. I mean, Bain played 34, Paolo 38, but still think you're gonna get that effort. New Orleans. I mean, I'm not the biggest geography guy. It's not that far from Florida,
Mhm.
right? I mean, not too much of a travel situation. Magic or nothing for me. Asking about Jenkins assists. I can't talk you off his props. I mean, uh, the that opportunity absolutely there. Only thing I would say is not the best matchup, and you have a hungry team on the other side, a desperate team. That's the only thing I don't like. All right, we'll keep going. Knicks and Hawks. Um, Open 1 point favorite for Atlanta. 1.5 is what we're looking at now. Total came down a little bit from 228.5 to 227.5. Nobody on the injury report for New York. Landale is out for the Hawks. This is a Hawks team. I mean, I can't say I don't think that they're playing the best basketball, but playing some of the best basketball in the association ever since, they made some of those trades. Yeah, both of these teams well rested coming into this one. The Knicks coming off of a 40-point win versus the Bulls and had 2 days off. The Hawks coming off of a 34-point win versus the Nets and had 2 days off. So I mean, you should get a really good effort from both teams, especially because you look at the standings. Knicks only 1 game in front of the Cavaliers as far as the third and fourth spot. The Hawks, I mean, they're not really don't really have too much of a chance to move up, but they can absolutely fall back into the play-in if they lose out or lose a few games. They're only 2 games in front of that seventh spot. So big game for both of these teams. I would like to think that, that brings playoff kind of intensity and defense. Maybe an under here, Rob. What do you think?
Yeah, it's possible. I went through this morning, Ski, in the Eastern Conference top 4, just thinking to myself, the Knicks and Cleveland are so close. Do either one of them really want the 3 spot and face Boston? Figure if you're Knicks or Cleveland, you'd almost rather, despite the season Detroit has had, you'd probably rather play Detroit than you would Boston, or at least be in the bracket with Detroit rather than be in the bracket with Boston. However, the Knicks probably would prefer to be in the bracket with Boston, so I think they'll try to keep winning. The Knicks are 2-1 against the Celtics this year, but they're 0-3 against the Pistons. They have had no luck with the Pistons. So for the Knicks, staying in that third hole is important, I think, just because they've had better luck against the Celtics than they have the Pistons. And the other side of the coin, Cleveland, which we'll talk about next, they've had 0 luck against Boston, and they're 2-2 split with Detroit. So where they sit right now, 3-4, is where I think they would like to end up. And then I thought about yesterday, where Cleveland at the very, very last minute says, nah, we're not going to play Mobley. Nah, we're not going to play Jared Allen. Let them both sit. It's almost as if Cleveland's trying to stay in the 4 slot. So for the Knicks, a win here would be important. Like you mentioned, the Hawks, I think the Hawks are just playing and playing well. they do have to, win one more. I think one more mathematically would get them into the 5 spot as a lock. I think you're going to get effort from both sides here. Under could be a good route here. I didn't play the game either way because I think you're going to get really good effort from both sides. But I honestly wouldn't want to play against Atlanta right now or bet against Atlanta the way they're going. Their lineup since the free agent moves that they made, their lineup's become really, really cohesive, and their depth. We talked about it at the time, but their depth is really good. Not that the Knicks isn't, but it just makes it a difficult decision for me on side. So I let this game go, but I couldn't talk anybody off of under 227.5 in this one.
Good stuff. And we'll go to the next game. Kind of a little bit of what you said, and as well, you kept letting us know that Cleveland just announced all their guys out. You just talked about these some of these teams but not wanting to move up to that third spot.
Exactly.
um, Let me move it over here. I'm actually opening up my book, seeing if I can still get some bets in. We stopped the show over here to make bets, so I just want to double check. Damn, I still see a 14.5 out there. I have to grab that. I do. Because, and I just grabbed it right there at least. Vino, let me actually pass this to you for a second. I grabbed that plus 14.5 just now. What do you think about Memphis and Cavaliers?
Yeah, I think, we just kind of laid it out. Cleveland's not interested in moving up, and they're interested in just staying where they are. Now, the good thing for Cleveland is that even if they end the season in a tie with the Knicks win the tiebreaker. So if they win a game by mistake and end up tying the Knicks, it's not going to hurt them because they lose the tiebreaker anyway. So they'll stay 4. It's hard, Skee. It's hard. You could rest all your guys. It's hard to be worse than Memphis at this point in time with what they're putting out on the floor. However, in this game, the guys Memphis puts out on the floor, maybe they're not the best personnel wise, but they're the team that's going to try. And that's all you're getting 14.5 with a team that's going to try against a team giving 14.5 that wants no part of winning games, especially by margin. So I would think Memphis is the right side here. We see a pretty good shift in the total down 238.5 all the way down to 233.5 in a couple of spots. I don't know if I would go that far simply because there's no defensive resistance out of Memphis and probably not going to be much out of Cleveland. But I could see a play on Memphis here. Like I say, Cleveland just has no interest, at least in my mind, no interest in being the number 3 seed. They're comfortable where they are, and they can afford to lose games because nobody behind them, the Atlanta Hawks, number 5, they can't catch Cleveland. So Memphis or nothing in that game.
Yeah. I put it in, and I'm actually just, hopefully you guys watching the show, some of the people who also, subscribe, because maybe some people might not be able to get that line, but I just put out whatever I bet. And I literally just opened my account and bet it on the show. The number was available. So I like the Grizzlies, one, because everything you talked about the Cavaliers. Two, you're not gonna have anybody, or not gonna, I'm sorry, they didn't rule everybody out. They ruled Thomas Bryant, James Harden, Donovan Mitchell, Max Strus, Jalen Tyson, Dean Wade out. They still have Mobley, Allen, Keon Ellis, Merrill, and Schroeder. My thought process here is, one, this is the last home game for the Grizzlies. I know the Grizzlies haven't cared too much about winning or, things like that. They're more tanking, but it's the last chance to give your fans something, exciting to see, to go out on. You have, for once, oh man, I don't like that. I did have Ty Jerome questionable earlier. He's now been ruled out. Don't like that. But I just still think last game at home, you get a really good effort from this Grizzlies team. And I don't think you get that effort from the Cavaliers. I mean, they've already shown you they don't care by ruling guys out. So I did put a slice stake on the Grizzlies plus 14.5. Would love it if Ty Jerome was in, but he's not. Any last thoughts, Vino?
Yeah, I think from what you just gave us there from the injury report, you can see how Cleveland's done this. Yesterday, first of a back-to-back, we'll sit our front court stars. Today, second of back-to-back, we'll sit our backcourt stars and just kind of rotate them back and forth. there's not a real interest in winning games for them. They could, of course, win this game. They probably still have the better roster, the better depth chart in this one. But to ask them to win by the number that you got, I'm watching the number on this game go down now to 12.5. But the number you got it at 15, certainly Memphis pretty live at that price.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know. I did get 14.5, man. I know people in the chat saying it went down real quick, but I'm not lying, bro. I got my thing right here on my screen. So it doesn't mean it's a winner.
We stopped the show.
Doesn't mean it's a winner, but ultimately, this is Cavs. I could argue the Cavs with Donovan Mitchell and James Harden don't deserve to be laying that kind of a number. They haven't been playing good enough defense. Without them, we just can't do it. So I have a little bit of a stake right there.
Skee, real quick, the Cavs are the worst point spread team this year in the NBA. 38.5% cover. So, like you say, even with their guys, they don't really cover numbers.
Yeah. I see 12.5s out there. I still don't think they deserve to lay that, honestly. But again, not super excited if they ruled Ty Jerome out. That's my guy right there. 76ers and Spurs. I'm sorry, that is not correct. We are going to, that is correct. My bad. 76ers and Spurs open -8. Looks like 8.5. Total went up from 234.5 to 237. Injury report for Philly. I see Campaign out, Broom out. For the Spurs, only Miller is listed as questionable. I mean, I don't think the Spurs have too much to play for, honestly. But this Spurs team, they bring it every night. And we know Wemby is still trying to get MVP. And he's going to show up every night because of that. And the guys follow when he shows up. The Sixers have been playing good basketball. The Sixers do have, something to play for. Just to be specific, I'll pull it up. Sixers currently in the 6th spot. Tied record with the Raptors. So they lose, they're right back into playing as it's looking right now. They have absolutely everything to play for. So because of that, and what we talked about to start the show, I would only want to look at Philly plus the 8.5. But I'm not in the business of betting against the Spurs right now. Probably. I've been saying that for a while, and I just don't want to do it. So lean Sixers. Maybe I don't really have an opinion on the total, but lean Sixers. What do you think?
Really couldn't have said it any better, Skee. I mean, you often say 1 + 1 = 2. And in these games right now, these situations, who needs it, who doesn't, 1 + 1 kind of does equal 2. Even if Philadelphia doesn't win this game, they could certainly come within 8.5 because we know they're going to give a huge effort here. San Antonio, we've talked about over the last 3 weeks. They honestly gave it a go to try and track down OKC. They didn't have to go all out to try and track down OKC, but they wanted to. And now, 3 behind with only 4 to play, it does make you wonder. And maybe they'll play this one, and then the rest of the week they won't, go all out. But the problem with betting against the Spurs is that they're 10 deep. They could rest 4 starters and still put a starting unit out on the floor, really. That's better than a lot of other NBA teams. So it's difficult to bet against them, but the points here might just be a little bit too high. They had that slugfest with Denver the other day. Great game, overtime game. Denver winds up coming back and winning. I would think in front of the home fans, San Antonio maybe wins, but again, point spread wise, I'd be a little leery of laying it. I think you said it best. Neither one of us wants to go in front of that freight train right now, which is San Antonio. But if I had to, the proverbial gun to head, I think I would take Philly plus the points. They need it that much more.
They do. And, the Spurs, they're 9-1 ATS, their last 10 in the first half. They come out, blow the doors off, and then as soon as Wemby goes and sits down, they can't stop shit. They let the other team get right back into the game. They're 5-5 ATS on the full game, their last 10. And we see this time and time again. I mean, they'll be up, 20-something points. Wemby sits down, they let a backdoor cover in. Sixers are not going to stop playing hard in this game, no matter what the score is. So, and I worry for you guys back in that first half Spurs that, you're not going to get – I mean, the Sixers are playing good basketball right now. and you're going to get an effort out the gate because the game matters. It's not like one of these teams the Spurs have been playing who have been sucking lately and just outmatched. Yes, Spurs are better, but I do think that Sixers effort will be there. Any last thoughts before we move it on?
Now, I agree with everything you're saying, Ski. I mean, for me, it would be Philly or nothing. Total moved up from 234.5 to 237, 237.5. San Antonio has scored at will on anybody they've played as of late, no matter who the opponent is. So I don't know. I can't get to the over simply because I think Philadelphia at full strength is good enough to maybe keep this thing under the number.
To Tommy Turnbuckle, I started this show by saying I've been losing the NBA the last week and a half because I've been betting on all of the other shit instead of the teams that need to win. And the teams that need to win continue to win and cover every single time. So I would disagree with this right now as of the current state of the NBA these last few games of the season. Last game, Blazers and Nuggets opened up 8.5 and is down to 7.5. Total right around the opener here. Um, for the Blazers, you have Jeremy Grant out, Craigie out, Sharp out. For the Nuggets, Bruce Brown is probable, Najee is questionable, Jones and Watson are both out. Um, Nuggets, since they've gotten healthy, they've kind of gone on a pretty nice run here. Um, they can name their number. I feel like in this game, if I'm betting this one, I feel like you know how I think about the Nuggets. I don't really trust their defense, but they can outscore anybody. I mean, 6 of the last 7 games have had 240 plus. Why is this not just an over game?
It should be. I mean, anything involving Denver right now actually should be. Both teams are in ties as far as their seeding is concerned. With the injuries to the Lakers, Denver could get ahead of the Lakers and get into the 3 spot. Whether or not they want to stay in the 4 and be in OKC's bracket or move up to the 3 and be in San Antonio's bracket, I don't think it matters to the Nuggets. They don't care who they play. They'll try to move up in the standings for sure. So they're going to have some incentive to play here. And Portland certainly has incentive because they're in a nip and tuck with the LA Clippers, both tied right now. And for Portland to move up, it's the difference between having a home game in the play-in or being on the road in the play-in. So I think you'll get effort out of the Blazers as well. I don't think either team could stop the other as long as there's no late scratches from either one of these lineups. 237.5 probably is a little bit low. Denver games for the most part climb into 240s without much resistance. So for me, I would probably look at total over, and you could almost look at Portland maybe plus points here. But again, I don't know that I trust it because I do think Denver has a little bit of an edge to them as far as wanting to win. And the counter side to that is exactly what you said. We hate betting these teams that just don't get defensive stops. I mean, Portland's going to be able to score. So 237.5 seems like a legit number to get over the total.
All right, that's the NBA slate for today. I think we did a solid job. We got through the 5 games in a little under 24 minutes. So we will, or before we do these best bets, let's do that good old promo, Rob. So I'm pretty sure this is still good. Buy 3 days, get 3 days free. Comes out to 6 days for just $69. A good way to check things out. See if you'd like to be involved for longer. If you do want to be involved, for a year, you can get the ultimate all access pass. Comes out to under $4 per day. And if you were to purchase Rob Veno for a year, for example, you'll receive a 25% bonus coupon you can use on anything you like. You can come check me out too. Playoffs right around the corner. This is the last week of the regular season. We do have this promo going, NBA playoffs plus the rest of the regular season free, just $200. And I mean, better than that. I mean, why not just get Rob Veno and myself for an extra $49? I mean, about a little bit over 2 months left of basketball, and you get both of us for the playoffs. I know Vino made money last year in the playoffs. Personally, I did not. It was one of probably it's the only year I think I didn't make money in the playoffs out of the 8 years that I've been tracking. But even with that bad last year, Last 3 years in the playoffs, I'm plus 145 units in the association. So this is the time where I start to do really good work. I know Rob does really good work as well. So Vino, I'm gonna pass it to you and ask if there's anything else you'd like to promote. Feel free. And if you have a best bet, we'd love to hear it. If you don't, all good.
I think you covered it promotion wise, Skee. Best bets. You always say it on the show. We don't like to recommend anything that we haven't either bet for ourselves or released client wise. I've done neither so far. There's not a client release in the NBA today. There's not a personal bet in the NBA today, but I will again do one of the things that sometimes you'll do and just leave you the list that's closest to becoming a play here. I have two that may end up on the client list. Those two are Orlando plus the 1.5, 2 points. Just think Orlando, even with the rough scheduling, has everything to play for here. And Detroit is showing us that maybe they're going to start to rest some people heading into the playoffs. So Orlando plus 1.5. And then the Portland Denver game that we just talked about over 237.5. As far as totals go today, that seems to make the most sense out of all the totals to me. So those two are close, guys, but I won't leave you with the best bet simply because I haven't played either and I haven't released either to clients as of yet. So there you have it, Skee. Orlando plus 1.5, Portland, Denver over 237.5 short list.
Good stuff. For myself, I'm taking my time making my bets today. But I did bet that Grizzlies. You can only get 12 and a half now, but you know, I still think that's too much for the Cavs to be laying. Like I said, they haven't been covering with their healthy team. Now minus a couple of key guys on the road, game they don't even really need or it doesn't matter. I think Memphis put on a nice performance for their crowd at home for their last game of the season, last home game of the season. So that's what I'll leave the show with, and I'll continue to add throughout the day. One question here before we get out of here, Vino, and I know, or I'll ask you: did you talk about the Natty tonight? Did you do your show with Trig today?
Yeah, we did. It was our last show of the season. We talked about it. I can tell you really quick that on the show and college props are not something I get into, Skee, but I can tell you Adam and I wound up. I was on Connecticut team total over 68.5 points tonight. So I need Connecticut to get to 69. And the chat on that show actually had a prop. Elliot Cadeau, the point guard for Michigan, points plus assists over. I think the number was 20.5, which Adam really agreed with. He liked that quite a bit. And I also thought, because I didn't know the number, I said it blindly. But Alex Caravan, points plus rebounds for Connecticut. I don't know the numbers still because I don't bet college props, but I think that that probably is a good look as well. So those were the three things that we landed on as far as the show is concerned. I'm trying to think because Adam had, I feel like he gave two plays and I only just gave you one, but I can't remember. Anyway, guys, if you
Well,
want to
that's
see
okay.
it,
They can go back and watch it.
yeah, I was just going to say Wager Talk TV, full court press. It's up now and available. It was a brief show today. You can go back and check it out, find out what we had.
My quick thoughts. I think that, and again, I'm not. Rob is more knowledgeable in college than I am. Trig probably is as well. Trig definitely is. I just focus on certain teams and I just know basketball and I watch basketball. This college season, I think I was 57 and 45. So there's some profit there. And my thoughts on the championship game tonight is I expected Michigan to kind of destroy Arizona because I didn't think it was a good matchup for Arizona. I think Michigan has showed they're really good all year. Probably the better of these two teams, but I think UConn has the better coach. I think UConn is going to find some kind of way to continue to slow the game down. They like to play slow on offense anyway. They're going to slow the game down, and the defense that they've been playing has been really impressive, especially the pick and roll defense. So I more so want to trust Dan Hurley to have a game plan, to slow this one down and keep them in check. I'm leaning towards UConn. I'm leaning towards a lower scoring game. I will make my final decisions probably in the next 4 to 5 hours. So it's a good reason to be involved as an all access subscriber. But those are my thoughts. Vino, always appreciate you taking the time to break the games down with me. Helps my process. I'm sure you help everybody else out there as well. Chat, definitely appreciate you guys. Great insight, great vibes. Just, y'all just help make the show what it is. I always want to let you know you're appreciated. So, best of luck, everybody, on all your action. We'll be back again tomorrow and we'll see you then.